What's up, everybody? Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. I'm Noah Strackbine here every single Monday through Friday. Find us on youtube.com/all Steelers talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. Today, we're talking about Devin Bush because for the first time in well over a year, and I've been wrong before, maybe I'm wrong again, but for the first time in well over a year, I got the sense that Devin Bush might be back. I don't know if being back means that he's going to be in rookie form or even the beginning of his second year when he truly looked like a star in the making, or if being back just means that he's a capable football player and could be that number two next to Miles Jack. But either way, for the first time in a long, long time, talking to Devin Bush felt like a human who genuinely knew that he had to become a better football player and genuinely felt like he could become a better football player. And I think that's the biggest difference here. Nothing was wrong with Devin Bush last season. On the field, he was healthy. He still looked fast. He just didn't want to hit anybody. He didn't want to go full speed. He wanted to be the nail instead of the hammer. And he was pretty open about that. He said straight up, if you got bit by a dog, when is the next time that you'd go pet a dog? I took that clearly as if you tore your ACL and had to go through a long and dreadful process to come back to football, spent a whole COVID season alone. Think about that. That's a whole year in your house by yourself, barely seeing anybody, not being able to do the one thing that you truly love. How good are you going to feel? How much confidence are you going to have in your game and in yourself and in your body, knowing that it let you down last time? I took that as I'm not ready yet. And that's okay. I think we all were upset. I think a lot of people, a lot of fans knew that Devin Bush had so much more to give and just wasn't giving it. But they also knew that there's a ton of potential in this kid, that there's a ton of upside. And that's why the Steelers moved up to 10 to draft this guy only 4 years ago. I think that was pretty evident. What was even more evident was the fact that maybe we never see true talent, high potential Devin Bush ever again. Maybe Devin Bush's time in the NFL is only going to be as that quality backup, or maybe less than that. Maybe he's a bust. We looked at him and said, maybe he's a bust. But for the first time since all of that, Devin Bush spoke to the media. And for the first time, I looked Devin Bush straight in the eyes. I stood from me to you away from him, stared him right in the eyes and he said, look, I knew that I didn't have confidence in my knee last season. I knew that with every play, I was nervous that something was going to happen. I knew that I was going through dark things. And you have to remember, on the field's one thing. To get over the comfortability of playing on a knee that gave out on you a year ago. I mean, ACL injuries it seems like everybody and their mother has one anymore. We understand. They stink. The process stinks. It's really hard to hurt yourself doing practically nothing, just running, and then tell yourself, okay, I don't want to go through that again, because the rehab process for an ACL sucks. It's dreadful. It's long. It's painful. You have to really teach your leg to be able to do everything again. Yeah, you could walk and yeah, all that stuff comes pretty easy, but bending it, getting the muscles back to where they were, working on flexibility, that whole nine, that's painful and annoying and dreadful and long stuff, processes. It's terrible. But I think the bigger thing here was the fact that, he was in a dark place. And when you're in a dark place, you're afraid to go back to that dark place. And if he got out of it and he was back on the football field, and then he was nervous that if it happened again, he'd have to go back to that dark place, I totally understand that. I look at that and say, yeah, I get it, man. Like, I definitely get it. I wouldn't want to go back there either. We've all been in places where we don't want to go back to. We've all been in situations where there's an opportunity where we might have to take a risk, and that risk could lead to a place we don't want to be at anymore. We all do it. We've all been there. So I definitely get that. Unfortunately, Devin Bush's place and Devin Bush's risk is in front of millions of people on a football field, making millions of dollars. And look, I get that. Football is a sport where it's as unforgiving as it is glamorous. In one instant, you could be a hero, and in the next instant, you could be a villain. That's what football is. That's what he signed up for. He knew everything about that going into it, and I fully get that. But I also understand that if he's willing to admit that he was in a dark place and he was nervous to go back to that dark place, and he was nervous that if he got hurt again, he'd have to go back to that dark place, I get that. For the first time, I get that. Because last year I just looked at it and said, this dude's afraid to run around. This dude's afraid to go 100%. This dude's afraid to hit somebody. Now I get this dude was afraid to be in a dark place again. Cool. Respectable. But he talked about his journey since then, and I think that's what was noticeable. He said that he went back home during the offseason, and for 2 months he just ran on the beaches of Florida. He was able to hit a football field anytime he wants, when last offseason he wasn't able to do that because the Steelers wanted him to be cautious. That changes a lot. If you could go out there and just be a kid and just run around and just do the things that you love to do. He said that he ran miles on the beach. He said that he was doing box jumps and he was just running around and diving and being a football player whenever he wanted to be a football player. That's a game changer. That, for the first time, will allow you to see, yo, I'm back. My body's okay, and it's going to be okay. Yeah, injuries happen, but we're a year removed from that injury now. I could trust my body enough to say, we're past that. We can move on. He also said that, he believes that he needed to go through that it was supposed to happen to him, that he found himself, and he learned a lot of lessons in that. And I think that's something that you have to take away from this. If he's on the other side of whatever dark place he was in, and all thoughts and prayers to him because we all get that. If he's on the other side of that, maybe for the first time in a while, he's ready to take another step forward. Because it seems as if you get out of a dark place, and the process is you're out of that dark place, but you're still very timid. You're still very nervous to go back to that dark place. You don't know how long the good is going to last. You don't know how long you could keep this strength up, because really you do. You have to keep your strength up at all times. But once you're on the other side of that, and every day kind of seems like, I'm way stronger than I ever thought I was. I'm way more powerful than whatever was dragging me down. I got this. Once you get that I got this mentality, and it clicks, and at least I, and hopefully all of you, know that when it clicks, it clicks, and it's a life changer. If he's on the other side of that, and it truly, truly feels like he is on the other side of that, this could be the first time that Devin Bush goes full force in making himself a dominant football player, because he's ready to just be great, because he beat a demon or multiple demons and overcame that, and then took that step after he overcame it to say, I am stronger than this. I don't know, but to me, that is the recipe for a guy who is ready to work his butt off and show the whole world, including himself and including whatever demon was haunting him, that he is 10 times better than anybody thought he was, or that demon tried to convince him that he was not. It might not have anything to do with football. And truthfully, it doesn't. Devin Bush is still athletic. Devin Bush is still a quality inside linebacker. The Pittsburgh Steelers know defensive football. The Pittsburgh Steelers know inside linebackers. They didn't pick up Devin Bush's fifth-year option because they understood that he needs to prove himself before they give him another deal. But they also fully understand that Devin Bush has all the upside, that Devin Bush has all the potential. There's no way that they would just get Myles Jack and move on and say, this is enough. Buddy Johnson isn't the starter. Buddy Johnson is a quality backup because they don't trust Robert Spillane or Marcus Allen or Ulysses Gilbert III to be that next guy. But he's by no means here to replace Devin Bush right now. Mike Tomlin, Brian Flores, Terrell Austin, they know what quality linebackers are, and Devin Bush is certainly one of them. He's got to live up to that potential. He's got to live up to that upside. I totally get that. I totally get that. But just in a human being aspect of this, and just looking at it as something way bigger than football, Devin Bush seems to be like a dude who just climbed the biggest mountain of his life. He feels like a guy who is just ready to be a football player again, ready to put his best foot forward and prove to a lot of people, even though he said he's got nothing to prove. He said, look, I'm a first-round pick. I'm 10th overall. Those things will never change. To me, that's an accomplishment. And I was like, yeah, you know what? It is true. I'm not a top 10 pick. You're not a top 10 pick. I'm sitting on the other side of a computer screen. You're making millions of dollars living your dream. To me, that's a win. It's a big win. But he looks like a dude who's finally, for the first time in a long time, ready to stop being held back by himself and by demons and by things around him and just go forward. That leaves a lot of upside for this kid. That leaves a lot of potential. On top of that, he's expecting a baby in about 6 months. That's life-changing. Personally, I couldn't tell you that. I hope I can't tell you that for a long time. But that's life-changing from what I've heard, from what I've seen. I don't know. Devin Bush has a lot of good things going for him. A lot of good things going for him. And there's going to be a lot of people that say, no way, he's not worth the money. No way, Devin Bush is a bust. Devin Bush stinks. Devin Bush is crazy. Still living on the Devin Bush sends out weird tweets thing. There's going to be a lot of people that are like that. And I'm not saying that Devin Bush is a superstar. By no means am I saying Devin Bush is a superstar. I'm telling you what I heard and what I picked up and how I interpreted things when I was 13 inches away from this dude. When I was talking to him straight to his face as he was answering questions. That's what I'm bringing to you. That's where my analysis is coming from. It's coming from Devin Bush and his words saying, I had to overcome so much more than people believe I had to, so much more than a knee injury. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like myself. I feel like somebody who's ready to be a winner. I feel like somebody who is ready to dominate in the NFL like I had the potential to when I came in here. He's not a superstar yet. There's still work on the field to be done. It's OTAs. I get that. We have a lot of on-field stuff to watch. But mentally, and that's what all this is about, is just mentally, this is the first time that I believe that Devin Bush could be back. Believe it for yourself or not, I think that hurdle is bigger than anything he'll do on the field this season. And it gives him the most upside and the most potential to become the star the Pittsburgh Steelers hope he is. All because he beat some demons. All because he's ready to go. And as a lot of us know and a lot of us understand, that is step one to being great, is beating the things that were holding you back. He seems to have beaten them.